Hello and welcome back to the Adric Star channel. And in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the 23rd season of classic Doctor Who, which was known collectively as The Trial of a Time Lord, made up of 4 individual stories whose titles don't appear on screen during the whole season. The Trial of a Time Lord was originally broadcast in England as one complete story consisting of 14 episodic parts and originally premiered in the fall of 1986. After a long hiatus from the winter of 1985, Doctor Who finally returned with its original producer, John Nathan Turner, script editor Eric Sayward, Colin Baker returning as the Sixth Doctor, and Nicola Bryant as the companion Perry. Although intended to be one entire story encompassing the whole season of year 23, when this season was sold overseas to America and other countries, new title sequences were created depicting and displaying the names of the titles of the individual stories, which consisted of The Mysterious Planet, written by Robert Holmes, Mind Warp, Terror of the Vervoids, and The Ultimate Foe, which is also credited to Robert Holmes. The first 4 episodes of A Trial of a Time Lord make up the story of The Mysterious Planet, which involves the Doctor and Perry landing on a planet that seems very similar to Earth, which the Doctor knows as Ravolox. Eventually, the two discover tiny but telltale signs that convince a curious Perry that they actually are on Earth, although somehow the planet has been moved millions of light years away from its fixed orbit in space. The Doctor and Perry would soon discover that the primitive inhabitants of the planet are having their lives governed by a domineering robot. Drathro holds the secrets to why Earth was moved so far away and contains a mysterious box of Time Lord secrets stolen from Gallifrey. And in this story, actor Tony Shelby makes his first appearance as the character Glitz, Dibber, with his companion Dibber. The opening shot of the first episode of this story consists of a 6-foot-long spaceship model that was controlled and governed by computer programming. The model of the spaceship represents the setting of the trial and became an iconic image for the whole 23rd season. Parts 5 through 8 are known collectively as Mind Warp, written by Philip Martin, who had previously penned a script for season 22, Vengeance on Varos, which was very well received and introduced a mysterious slug-like creature called Syl, who was a greedy businessman. So he, not surprisingly, returns in Mind Warp and is accompanied by his lord and master, Kiv. The setting of the story is Syl's home planet, and the Lord Kiv is having severe headaches because his brain is growing and he requires to have a brain transplant into a new body. And the doctor nearly loses his head, literally, when he is chosen as the possible candidate. Special guest star in this story is actor Brian Blessed, who had appeared in countless numbers of fantasy and sci-fi movies and TV series. Parts 9 through 12 of The Trial of the Time Lord are known collectively as Terror of the Vervoids, where a new companion, Melanie Bush, is introduced, and the story actually takes place in the Doctor's future, causing certain paradoxes, and yet it does feature an interesting story in a classic sense involving a race of humanoid plant-like creatures which the scientists who created and bred them call vervoids. Traveling aboard a luxury space liner, the vervoids become wise to the scientists' plans of using them as a slave labor force when the ship returns to Earth. And so they begin a mutiny, revolt, and eventually the Doctor has to find a way to exterminate them, only because if they made it to Earth, they would attack and destroy all human beings on Earth. But thus, the Council of the Time Lords consider this act genocide, and now the trial turns to a possible extermination of the Doctor's life. During the course of the trial, the Doctor had become suspicious about the accusations presented against him. He began to think that the Matrix, the repository of all Gallifreyan knowledge, had been altered, and his suspicions would prove accurate as an old enemy would emerge from within the Matrix itself, and thus the Doctor would have to do actual physical conflict and battle with this old enemy by actually entering the Matrix, as he did in the classic story The Deadly Assassin, also written by Robert Holmes. Well, that concludes the basic synapses of the entire season of 23. But what exactly caused the hiatus which prolonged season 23 and created this gap that lasted for 16 months? The decision was made for Doctor Who to be temporarily canceled halfway during the 22nd season, which was Colin Baker's first year as the Doctor. It was announced in February on British television by program director Michael Grade that Doctor Who would be leaving the air, and it became known as a hiatus. No one would imagine that the series wouldn't return until the fall of 1986. The reason given was that the series had received very low ratings, but most fans found this hard to believe. During the time the series was off the air, a charitable record was produced made up of various famous British pop singers, which became known as Who Cares, recording a song that was produced by Hans Zimmerman called Doctor in Distress. To this date, no one knows for certain if the proceeds from the record really made any difference. Regardless, the series did come back, and The Trial of a Time Lord remains the longest Doctor Who story, made up of 14 episodes, even to date, even compared to the new series. It holds the record as the longest Doctor Who story, even beating out the Daleks' Master Plan, which was made up of technically only 12 parts.